Hey folks, good evening. I'm Michelle Kinney. I'm here with Julie Roginsky here at Mayday Network. We wanted to jump on here really quick this evening. We just saw an article that was flagged by the great people over at the Bulwark. Sam Stein just went on YouTube actually by himself to report this. Originally reported by the Minnesota Tribune. Something that seems, I don't know, Julie, pretty alarming actually. And I'm not seeing anybody else talk about this. So we wanted to make sure that we brought this to you.
So, Michelle, let's cut to the chase. The 82nd Airborne is the most well, I shouldn't say the most, one of the most storied units in the military. Even if you're not a military person, and I'm not, you've heard about the 82nd Airborne.
Yep.
They have, going back to World War II, I mean, truly a storied unit. The other day, there was a conversation between an aide to Stephen Miller, who works in the White House, an aide to Pete Hegseth, who works in the Pentagon, discussing the fact that Pete Hegseth wanted permission from Donald Trump to implement his plan, which was to send the 82nd Airborne to Portland, Oregon. Now, the 82nd Airborne, of course, like the rest of the military, should not be deployed to any American city. The 82nd Airborne should be deployed to places that cause Americans harm and not against American citizens. And so the fact that we have a Secretary of Defense who is actually considering deploying the 82nd Airborne against American citizens is just alarming. They did not go through with it. They ultimately ended up sending the National Guard, but this doesn't mean that they're not going to go through with it in the future. And you know, I just want to be very clear about what is happening here. And I know people are saying the Bulwark is just a story on this. Absolutely right. That's where Michelle first saw.
That's why we're here. That's why we're here.
But you know, I just want to put this in context. We have, because the corporate media is not reporting this at all, and thank God for the Bulwark. And you should absolutely listen to them and subscribe to them.
Yeah, and this is a local paper. This is the Minnesota Tribune.
The Minneapolis newspaper. But you don't see this on CNN, which I'm sure is probably still busy covering the Diddy verdict, or not the Diddy sentencing. You have serious consideration at the highest levels of the United States government talking about deploying the 82nd Airborne. Men who were trained, I don't know if there are women in the 82nd Airborne, so I shouldn't say men and women, I don't know, but Americans who were trained in the most elite circumstances to effectively parachute into, literally, the most dangerous places on earth, that they're about to deploy, they consider deploying that. And those people who took an oath to the Constitution to defend the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. These are not domestic enemies. People in Portland, what? I'm sorry, they didn't have enough oat milk for their lattes, and so therefore,
I was like, have any of you seen Portlandia? I mean, that's the thing too. I listen. I wouldn't put it past these people to go up to Donald Trump and show him videos of protest in 2020.
That's what they did. That is exactly that. It's not that you shouldn't put it past them. Donald Trump admitted, when he was on the phone with the mayor of Portland, where she said to him, "What are you talking about? There are no protests." And he showed her, and she said, "Those were from 2020." And he was like, "Oh, did my people mislead me? Did my people not tell me the truth? My people assure me this is
that part." Yeah.
And so he's being manipulated by Stephen Miller. Nothing more than American carnage, which I believe he wrote that speech.
Yes, he did.
For Trump in 2017. And Pete Hegseth, who cosplays a tough guy and has, going back to the Fox days when he was in an axe throwing competition on Fox and Friends and messed that one up pretty badly.
Yes, I know. I
mean, these are people who are cosplaying tough guys.
That's the scariest. I mean, it's all scary, but this is so, to quote Sam Stein, I think he said JV bullshit. Like, not even. I mean, this is
JV bullshit. It's, it's little girls playing house. These are people playing army.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. And
right?
I just want to throw this up here because just so people see this, you can see all my tabs open. Hello, Getty Images. Okay, so let me go through this. Trump officials discussed sending elite army division to Portland via text message. So here's the beginning of this here. Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth considered sending an elite U.S. Army strike force to Portland, Oregon, to quell protests that Donald Trump had characterized as lawless mayhem. The messages casually exchanged last weekend in a crowded public space show high-level officials in the Trump administration discussing the deployment of the Army's 82nd Airborne, an infantry division, to Julie's point, that had been deployed to combat zones in both World Wars, Vietnam, and Afghanistan. If the administration were to send in the Army division, it would almost certainly be challenged in court under federal laws, limiting how the military can be used domestically. I mean, yeah.
I just want to be clear. The 82nd were the people in Normandy. They were storming the beaches of Normandy to rid the European continent of fascism. Mm-hmm. Now they are considering deploying that same 82nd Airborne to impose fascism upon our own continent. Mm-hmm. It is as simple as that. It is as simple as that.
Yep.
And the White House's response to this, Michelle, from what I've read briefly, was that this person, Anthony Salisbury, how dare the Minnesota Star Tribune look over his shoulder to get these signal messages because he was at his uncle's funeral, and how dare they take advantage of his grief? Well, how dare they take advantage of our taxpayers and our money to deploy our troops against our neighbors?
Yep.
How about that? How dare they continue to have talks about military operations on Signal again and again?
Again.
When is it going to stop? What else are they discussing over Signal? And how fast did Vladimir Putin, Xi Jinping, and the mullahs in Iran, and every person who wishes this nation ill pick up on it? I mean, why? Why?
Yep. And just to bring this back here, says over the course of several conversations totaling dozens of messages, Salisbury chatted candidly and at times profanely about a wide range of matters that with Hegseth's advisor, Patrick Weaver, and other high-ranking federal officials. According to Weaver, Hegseth wanted Trump to expressly tell him to send troops into an American city. Quote, between you and I think Pete just wants the top cover from the boss if anything goes sideways with the troops there. He acknowledged the potential political ramification of deploying Army troops to a U.S. city, and Hegseth preferred to send the National Guard, he wrote.
So if Hegseth wants to send the National Guard, who wants to send the 82nd Airborne? Stephen Miller? Like, that's the fact that we're even having this discussion
is insane.
The fact that Pete Hegseth went to Quantico this week with Donald Trump, who was kind of out of it, but still.
This conversation happened before Quantico.
And then they looked the men and women who swore an oath to the Constitution to defend this country in the eye and told them that if they were not going to get with the program, as Pete Hegseth said, they should have the honor to resign.
Yep. If any of what I'm saying makes your heart sink.
You guys, these are people in Portland, Oregon. These are our neighbors.
Our fellow Americans.
Our fellow Americans. And these people who took an oath want to send the 82nd Airborne against our neighbors, against us. I don't know if anybody in this chat is from Portland. If you are, that's you. And if you're not from Portland, they're coming for us next.
Mm-hmm.
Don't live in a big city. Don't worry. They'll get to you eventually.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So just so if anybody's questioning this too, it says the individual confirmed Salisbury was the one sending the messages after reviewing photographs and video of him. The Star Tribune used facial recognition technology to confirm Salisbury's identity and took additional steps to verify authenticity of the messages. Abigail Jackson, a White House spokeswoman, did not respond to questions about the messages. She said Salisbury was in Minnesota to serve as a pallbearer at his uncle's funeral.
And I have to wonder. Now, apparently, over at the Pentagon, they're subjecting people to all sorts of tests to see if they're leaking, to all sorts of interrogations, to all sorts of lie detectors, and God only knows what else, and going through their phones, ironically, to see if they're leaking, despite the fact that these idiots are using Signal.
And this
But-
is at a time where the Pentagon's making reporters sign pledges to even report on anything that is not pre-approved by the Pentagon in order to report and print.
And and he does not want any press covering this, but I have to wonder, when those generals and admirals left Quantico and went back to their respective, I assume they went back to their respective posts, they all talk to each other.
Of course. Yeah.
What are they saying? And what are they planning? And what are they thinking? Because they are being asked. They are being asked. Now, I don't know who is in charge of the 82nd Airborne. It's an Army division. Obviously, the Secretary of the Army is in charge of it ultimately, but I don't know who the commanding officer is of the 82nd Airborne. And I'm sure I could look it up.
This would be a good Frederick question.
Yeah. But that person, what is he going to do if he gets an order from the Secretary of Defense through the Secretary of the Army, I assume, to deploy the 82nd Airborne? What does he do?
My thing too is like they're gonna parachute into Portland, and I'm just picturing some Portland person in a scarf, like holding a coffee, walking down the street, being like, "What's going on?" Like, do you know what I mean? Like, it's just
listen. The same thing happened in Chicago. They sent Black Hawk helicopters outside of Chicago to land on apartment building roofs. So if you are a regular person living in Chicago, and you're like, "What the hell is that whirling above my head?" And all of a sudden, you see men in the middle of the night on Tuesday morning, early on Tuesday morning, which really is the middle of the night, like ninjas, again, cosplaying.
Yeah.
Cosplaying Team Teal 6. It's just shocking to me. It is just shocking to me.
I want to show this part too. It says the messages also offer a rare glimpse of high-ranking government officials chatting about a range of other topics. In addition to this, Julie, Salisbury's messages with a close-knit circle of security officials discussed Border Patrol operations in Chicago, the need to reinstate an ICE agent who had been fired for throwing a woman to the ground in New York City. I don't know if you guys saw that video. It's horrific. And several exchanges included information that has since played out publicly, including a planned mass arrest of suspected Tren de Aragua gang members in Chicago, allegedly. Salisbury wrote that Vice President J.D. Vance wanted to pursue criminal cases against 2 Florida influencers who were preaching violence on social media. I mean, it goes on and on. In a separate exchange, Salisbury celebrated FBI Director Kash Patel's decision to fire several agents who were photographed kneeling during the 2020 protests in the NFL. I mean, and then it says, this is how Kash survives, Salisbury wrote. He will do this stuff for the man, but day-to-day giant douche canoe. So they've called Donald Trump the boss, the man. They're shit-talking each other, further proving what we've all been saying and thinking, that Kash Patel is doing all this like little petty bullshit stuff in order to make himself look good and fluff up the boss. And that includes this, and I'm sure the James Comey stuff, or was it Donald Trump?
He wanted big burly men, to do a perp walk of James Comey wearing FBI and insignia. And I guess some agent refused and therefore got fired. But somebody will agree. They'll arrest James Comey and they'll perp walk him. I mean,
people are like, "Oh, you can't do that." I'm like,
and JD Vance wanting to arrest social media influencers who are preaching violence. What does preaching violence mean?
Right. And who determines that?
Because by the time you're done being arrested and processed, bailed out, get a lawyer, and go to court and defend yourself, you're going to be broke.
Yep.
Even if a judge throws this out. Good luck recouping those costs from the federal government for wrongful detention or wrongful arrest.
Right.
Very hard to do. I think probably almost impossible.
Right.
It's
listen, this administration and these kinds of people, they love to live in the gray area, because if they don't have to define something, clearly, then that gives them a lot of leeway to do a lot of bad shit. I mean, I'm just thinking even just now with the abortion stuff, right? They're like, okay, no abortion in this state unless the life of a mother is in danger. Okay, well, who decides at what point is her life in danger? At what point does this happen? And it's like, how far along does she have to be? How bad does it have to be? And it's the same thing here. Like, what is violent speech? What is, is it just something that JD Vance sees on Twitter and doesn't like it? I don't know. And I just want to bring this up too. This is a war from within, which Donald Trump has said. This is a war from within. And he said that again in Quantico earlier this week. It says here, at one point in the conversation, Salisbury typed out a question, quote, 82nd is part of this trained element you guys have been building for this very thing, right? End quote.
Well, is it?
It was unclear from the images if he sent the message.
Is it? I mean, honestly, is it? Is this what the 82nd Airborne has been building up for? Because the last time I checked, they were the tip of the spear in every conflict since World War I. Since there was anything to be airborne from.
Yep. And it says days after the signal exchanges took place, Trump told a crowd, as we all saw in Quantico, that he was going to use American cities as training grounds. Quote, we're going to straighten them out one by one. And this is going to be a major part for some of the people in this room, Trump said. In the appearance alongside Hegseth, leaders of the U.S. military branches, including Army, were in attendance. Quote, it's a war from within, end quote, Trump said. In the messages reviewed by the Star Tribune, Weaver wrote that the White House counsel, David Warrington, was working on the Portland plans and intended to set up a call with the president and Hegseth.
You guys, it's coming. I mean, it may not have come now, but don't forget, they do this to see the reaction, and there has been no reaction.
It's always a test balloon. Always a test balloon.
Always a test balloon. I haven't turned on CNN right now, but I'm sure it's more P. Diddy stuff.
Well, that's the thing, is like, I Googled this. When I saw Sam Stein one, I was like, oh, this is interesting. What is, and it says bombshell, right? And I'm like, what's this? I look it up. I obviously don't have a subscription to the Minneapolis Star Tribune. So I had to buy a subscription, which I'm happy to do. But then I Googled, I'm like, no one else is talking about this. No one is talking about this.
Well,
and I want to go further and say mainstream media is barely talking about the Black Hawk helicopters landing on the south side of Chicago.
They're not, because I have been going crazy on this since Thursday. It happened early Tuesday morning.
Yeah.
And when I wrote it, people were like, wow, this happened? Wow, you have to learn about this from my little Substack? Really?
Right.
Really?
Right.
And then yesterday, what did we find? Yesterday in primetime CNN, New York Times, go to the New York Times homepage right now. What are you going to find? Nothing on that. These are the trial balloons that they send up. They see the reaction. There's no reaction. So they're going to do it. They're going to send the 82nd Airborne into Portland.
Mm-hmm.
Not Portland, then Chicago. And if not Chicago, then San Francisco. And if it's not San Francisco, then Los Angeles.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. And, that's it. That's all they care about.
I just want to give a shout out here too to the reporter. This is Andy Mannix. So shout out to the reporter for scooping this. And there is a follow-up article that was published today that gives further proof and a breakdown of how they were able to confirm this story. Because I think that they, obviously went through several channels and several layers of fact checking to make sure that they were right. Because especially a local small paper like this is not going to publish something like that and be wrong. That's a huge, huge, huge risk for them. So, shout out to this paper and their editor for doing this, because in this climate, it's brave.
And again, you gotta love the fucking, sorry, Dad, victimization that the Trump administration just lives all day long, 24/7, where you have this, White House spokesperson saying, "Oh, how dare they publish these text messages when he was grieving at his uncle's funeral? He was a pallbearer."
He was grieving so much that he was talking about invading American cities over text message.
Their thing is, so even during his grief, he was working on behalf of the American people.
Right.
What? You know what? Stow the fucking victimization. Yeah. You guys have won. You are in charge of everything. You're not the victims. You're the oppressors.
Yeah.
Like, where is this victimization coming from? You won it all. You have it all. It is all yours. You have the Supreme Court that allows you to do whatever you want. You have the Congress that is bent over backwards to let you do whatever you want. You have the White House. You have the military that you're now deploying on behalf of your commander in chief, who doesn't know what day it is, never mind whether he's filmed some AI commercial.
To which Michael Wolff, who's the Trump biographer, who again does not report things really or even repeat things that he can't back up, he has several sources inside the White House that he talks to on a daily basis. And he said this morning that there is an uptick in chatter in the White House, around the White House, asking, is he okay? What's going on? What's wrong with him? He doesn't seem well mentally.
Well, he hasn't been mentally well in a long time. So
no, I mean, but yeah, addled,
I mean, listen, if you watch that Quantico speech, talk about Sleepy Joe. I mean, that was Sleepy Don.
Right.
And, he did not go to Bedminster this weekend. He stayed at to play golf. I get on a plane. Why can't he get on a plane?
Right.
And, what can we say more about this, Michelle? Because there's nothing much more to say. We just wanted people to know what's happening because it's not a little. I mean, the Minneapolis Star-Tribune is a pretty storied newspaper, but a regional newspaper, a regional newspaper in the Midwest just came out with a humongous scoop. And because it's not the New York Times is ignoring it. And CNN's ignoring it. And everybody's busy with their Saturday afternoons, going into Saturday night, which everybody should go and decompress and do whatever they're doing. I'm going to go to dinner soon with my family. But I will say this, while that's all happening, these people are planning on sending the 82nd Airborne, and it is only a matter of time until the Navy SEALs come ashore in New York City.
Yep.
In Seattle.
Yep. And listen, this here too, I just want to, this is the editor's note from the same newspaper. How this was put out last night at 8:00, I guess, shortly after they published the first story. Editor's note, how we reported the text messages between senior Trump administration officials. So they go through the whole thing. I'll just read a little bit here at the top. A person contacted Minnesota Star-Tribune investigative reporter Andy Mannix recently with a tip that a top government official was indiscreetly discussing sensitive government information via cell phone. The source had pictures of the text messages and believed they were a matter of public interest. I mean, this is great reporting from them. Again, I say thank you to these reporters, the editor of this newspaper, especially in this climate, for reporting on this, because, it's brave. It's brave, but it's the right thing to do. And it's the kind of thing that the Washington Post used to do. But the rest of the country is going to have to pick up the pieces.
Well, the Minneapolis Star Tribune, Timberwolves, and others. I mean, he's the former minority leader of the Minnesota Senate, which makes him, what political party does he belong to? Let's see. He's a Republican Minnesota state senator. Good for him for getting out of his reporter's ways.
Yep. And this is the front page. The top of their website.
Yeah.
Breaking. Trump officials discussed sending elite Army division to Portland, text messages show. So listen, if you can throw them a bone, read the story, support regional and local news, independent news, in addition to, independent voices everywhere, including us at Mayday, which is we're trying to build here, independent voices like at the Bulwark. The I've Had It women are really great with breaking this kind of stuff too, because we have to flood the zone. As soon as one of us picks up one of these stories, reads about these stories, we will do our best to come here and try to explain, or at least talk through it together and have a greater understanding, because the more we know, the better prepared I think that we all can be. So.
Yes. And stay safe, everybody, especially those of you in Portland. It's coming for you. I'm so sorry that it's coming for you. People in Chicago.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. It's coming for you too. It's here.
It's coming to New York too. Let's be honest.
It will eventually reach us in New York, in LA,
Boston,
coming for you everywhere. We just have to be, we're all in this together, you guys. And I think it's just something that I just want to be, I think it bears repeating. You're not alone. We are all in this together. Even if you live in a sea of red and you're the only dot of blue there, just know you're not alone. You have a community here with us. We're going to continue to try to bring you this breaking news as soon as we find out about it. We're going to continue to have these AMAs that Michelle and I had on Substack yesterday for 2.5 hours. You guys, some of you were so wonderful to join us, and we just had a chat with the whole community. We're going to continue to do this kind of stuff, even if it means blowing up our Saturday afternoon with our families, to do that because we think it's that important to do. So thank you for sticking with us. Have a great rest of your day. For those of you, I know there's some people here from Europe who joined us. Go to bed. What are you doing up so late? The pubs should be closed in London by now, so go to bed. And have a great rest of your day, the rest of your weekend, and we'll see you soon.
Yeah,
bye,
everybody. Bye.